Welcome to B2B Marketers on a Mission, a podcast for B2B marketers that helps you to question the conventional, think differently, disrupt your industry, and take your marketing to new heights. Each week, we talk to B2B marketing experts who share inspirational stories, discuss their thoughts on trending topics, and provide useful marketing tips and recommendations. And now, here's your host and co-founder of Einblick Consulting, Christian Klepp. Okay, welcome everyone to this episode of the B2B Marketers on a Mission podcast, where you get your weekly dose of B2B marketing insights. This is your host, Christian Klepp, and today I'd like to welcome a guest on the show who is on a mission, and that mission is to empower people by the way she acts and have a positive impact on them. So how is that related to B2B marketing? Well, we're going to find out in a second. So coming to us live from Ludwigsburg, Germany, Lena Lotta Landgraf. Ich würde mal sagen, schönen guten Tag und herzlich willkommen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Christian. It's a pleasure.
Likewise. It was a pleasure to be connected, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation because, as I mentioned before the recording, this is a heavily debated topic on platforms like LinkedIn, and I really hope the listeners are going to get a lot of value out of this. Okay. So, Lena, you've spent a lot of time and effort in developing your personal brand on LinkedIn. So tell us about why you think that's important, and why do you think that people in B2B organizations need to develop their personal brands, and here it comes, and not just curate content from the company page?
Let me start by answering that with a number. 12,300,000. That's the number of digital marketing specialists or managers that are on LinkedIn. That's how many digital marketers there are on LinkedIn, but there's only one Lena Lotta Landgraf out there. But how will others know that I'm unique and I'm me if I don't put myself out there? And especially B2B brands, I think, struggle with people knowing them on the streets because obviously they're B2B, and people don't have touch points usually in their daily lives with their products or services. And usually their offerings are also more complex. So people have like a harder time understanding what that company actually does, or what the brand stands for, what the logo stands for, what the company name stands for. And personal branding can really help be a stepping stone to get over that problem. It can help you like build a reputation and position yourself as an expert in your specific field, so that you're not just another B2B SaaS company, but you're the B2B SaaS company that people think of when they need a service or product. And lastly, people really like to buy from people that they like, that they're familiar with, that they trust. And by being like yourself on LinkedIn and creating content, engaging with your network, you can establish that trust, and you can build those relationships that can like lead to something further down the road. And lastly, I think personal profiles make the whole experience so much more authentic and credible, instead of just like being active on the company page. Obviously, employees can engage with the company's post and support the company's posts, but I think they should go beyond that and speak about their own ideas, about their own thoughts, about their stories within the company. And that's basically my answer to your question.
Okay. So, I mean, in other words, it's really about being top of mind, right, for those specific groups of people, or that specific group that you're trying to reach out to and connect with, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So you touched on it a little bit, and I'd like to expand on that further, if you will. So talk to us about, and you've probably seen a lot out there. Talk about some of the common mistakes and misconceptions that people make when it comes to personal branding and how they can address these.
I think there's a ton. But let's narrow it down to 4. I think many people think that LinkedIn is a platform where you connect with people that you already know. You go to a networking event and then like you exchange LinkedIns, and then you're connected on LinkedIn because you met them But it's so much more than that. There's so many amazing human beings out there. And obviously, if you want to create inbound leads or create new opportunities, the way to do that is to go beyond the people that you already know and connect with others. And I think many people still underestimate the power of that. And let me tell you, there's great people out there, very great community out there, and people out there who can help you with your problems and who might be potential customers or partners in the future. So that's definitely one thing that is a huge misconception going on. Then the second thing I would want to mention is no personalization. People just click on the connect button or send out hundreds of connection requests in a month without personalizing them. They send messages that are drafted based on templates. That's not gonna make you stand out. That's not gonna make an impact. That's just gonna make people bored of you and annoyed by you. So basically, my tip would be whatever you do on LinkedIn, make it personal, add your personality in there, and take the time to nurture those contacts and add some personalization, whether it's on your profile, in the comments, in the DMs, wherever you are, you will see that people notice those things. Then the really important thing is that many people do not reply to comments. If they do start posting, that's the biggest step to actually get yourself out there and post. But why would you not reply to the people who took the time to comment on your post and engage with your post? I'm not saying that you have to send a thank you note to every single person who liked your content. That would be a little over the top, although I've seen people do that. But definitely reply to comments, because that's where you can start conversations and really get to know people more. And then the fourth thing I want to mention is please do not post something for the sake of likes. That is a trend, I feel like, that is already on LinkedIn, that started with the polls. Polls have amazing reach, but it's gotten out of hand, and people just post some things for the sake of engagement and likes. And I would highly recommend not to do that. Really just post stuff that you feel that represents you and your brand and that makes sense to your network.
Absolutely. I mean, those are really some great points. And I'm going to go back to your, I think it was point number 2, no personalization. There was a great post a couple of days ago by a common acquaintance, or at least somebody I'm connected with on the network. She called it annoyance at scale, right? So it's when people are using like automation and they're spamming people that they're connected with, or they're trying to like connect with people on LinkedIn, and they, like you said, they have these canned generic templated messages that are basically, you can clearly see that they haven't done any homework on you, like they don't know who you are. It's just it's just been sent out to like hundreds of contacts. So that is probably the quickest way to get people to like not connect with you and stay as far away from you as possible, right? And the other thing that you said was the vanity metrics, right? So people are posting things for the sake of likes, and they might not even be topics that are necessarily relevant to their line of work, but they're just posting it again for those eyeballs, right? And LinkedIn polls, I mean, unfortunately, it's like you said, it's got to this point now where people are just posting some ridiculous questions, right? But they're getting a crazy amount of engagement. So
honestly, please do not post whether internships should be paid or not. There's only one answer: internships should be paid. Let's not make a poll about it. We all know that there's only one right answer there.
I've seen at least 2 of those, or 2 or 3 of those polls rather, and yeah, absolutely agree with you. I don't think it really does that still warrant a continued discussion?
I think people are bound, like polls are basically great if you use them in the right way, because people actually, it makes people think, and people are really likely to actually comment on a poll because they really want to voice their opinion on the topic. So I think whether you post about what you eat for breakfast or something relevant, people will talk about it, sadly. But I really would like to see more really like thought out market research, interesting polls out there, and have great conversations and discussions in the comments about those topics, and not about what day of the week I like to do sports or something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lena, for this next question, I'm sure you've got a great answer, right? Because it's one of these things, again, that people post up about a lot on LinkedIn. Why do you think there's so much pushback within B2B organizations for people to develop their personal brand? And how do you think somebody in like your role in marketing communications can support them?
That is a great question. I'm actually going to be focusing more and more on that topic this year. But I think number one is probably they don't really understand the platform. If you think about it, it makes total sense. It's not a common social media platform. It's a lot more complex. The mere like process of setting up your profile, there's so many things you can include and do on the platform. It has a lot of potential, but it's large, and it's a lot to process. And something that we can do from the marketing side to help the colleagues is we can organize trainings, either ourselves, or we are fortunate enough to be actually in contact with LinkedIn and have a great community of focusing on the topic of social selling, where we share tips and tricks, and so on, also really communicate on who is the responsible person within your organization, who people can go to if they have questions, if they need help searching for a LinkedIn banner, or they don't understand something in Sales Navigator or on LinkedIn generally. Something that I started this year, which is super fun. We have a community basically within our own platform for our region, Eurocentral, which is like Central Europe, mostly German-speaking countries. I am doing like a LinkedIn quick tips series. So I'm posting a video every single week, which is only a maximum of 2 minutes. I really want it to be quick and easy, with just one tip. Like, for example, how to customize your URL, or how to create and post carousel posts, because many people don't know that you just have to create a PDF out of images, and stuff like that. So make it interesting to people, and make it known and transparent on who to contact, and organize those trainings, and really talk to people what they actually need. I talk to a lot of my colleagues in sales and marketing what they would actually need for their training, because there's so many things you can cover, and it makes sense to really focus on the things that will help the colleagues. And definitely something, many people don't feel comfortable putting themselves out there. So I think some things that companies can do is lead by example, really have your managers and some people in marketing, for example, me, be active on LinkedIn and show what kind of difference it can make. And I'm not sure whether it makes sense to potentially even give guidelines, not as rules, but to make people feel more comfortable, and like basically give that they know that they're allowed to post about the company, that they are encouraged to use social media, because I think some people really are hesitant because they're so unsure on whether they should post about topic X or XYZ. Then the third thing I would say is that people don't know what to post about, and something that us marketers can do there is either do like a workshop on content creation, provide some relevant resources. We even have an internal social media platform where we, from the marketing side, create content for people to post. Of course, we always want them to personalize the post before they do. That happens more or less sometimes of the time. But yeah, we're doing our best there. And definitely social media is not for everybody, and that has to be respected. So I think it does make sense to force people just because they are in a specific function. Don't force people to be active on social media if they don't feel comfortable with it. That's something that you really actively have to want. And maybe something that companies could do instead is that they focus on hiring the right people in the future, or like other people in the future who are digital natives who really want to be active on social media and do some social selling there. I think that would be a good way to start instead of forcing everybody to be active that is already in the company.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And those are some really great tips. And yes, education certainly is the key, right? Because as you said, there's probably a lot of people that don't really understand how the platform or how platforms rather like LinkedIn work. And it's really important to give it to them, like what you're doing right now in quick and digestible formats, right? But here's another question that I have for you, Lena, because I'm pretty sure you get this all the time. What do you say to those people that are telling you like, yes, we know it's important to like be active on social media, but we just don't have the time?
I think you have to prioritize, and there's always time if you make time for the right things. Obviously, I know that social media takes a lot of time. If you really want to be as active as I am, that's a huge commitment. But you can make time out of like non-value added time. I make like if I go for a walk with my dog, I send voice notes to my contacts during that. Or when I commute to work, when we're not in the middle of a pandemic, I use the time in the train to comment on posts and answer my comments. And I do actively take time out of my week to create content and write down create content and write posts. So I would say try it out and see where it gets you, and I don't think you will regret it.
No, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Um, Talk to us about what the benefits are of developing your personal brand on LinkedIn and cite examples from your own experience if possible.
Sure. I mean, there's so many, and people ask me all the time why I'm actually on LinkedIn. It's not in my job description. I started doing this all by myself, and it basically started really incrementally with small steps. But so far the return on investment has been so amazing. I've met amazing people all around the world. On Christmas I was in Finland and I met my LinkedIn connection, Roman, and last summer I met somebody in Finland that I met on LinkedIn. And some people that I met on LinkedIn I would even call my friends nowadays. And it's so amazing that LinkedIn connects you with people from countries like the States and Australia and Estonia and so on and so on. I have connections almost all around the world, and that's been really rewarding. And I've learned so much from all of them. If you follow the right people, you can just use the search function, put some keywords in there, and then find relevant people for the topics that you are interested in. And if you follow them, they give away valuable tips every single day for free. You can literally basically get their knowledge for free every single week, and that's really amazing. And obviously through content creation, I've become a better marketer, and I've learned so much from my job, because that's one of the things I do in my company. And obviously, I've also gained a lot of like external visibility. I grew from, I think, 800 contacts when I started to over 4,000 followers. And we're a huge company, and so many people in my company nowadays know who Lena Landgraf is, which is amazing. And I've met so many people internally through that, and people have approached me with questions about LinkedIn, and that's just super nice because I really like to talk about the topic and help my colleagues out there. And lastly, LinkedIn is full of opportunities. You will never know what those opportunities are until they present themselves. But if you would have asked me 1.5 years ago, do you think you will be featured in podcasts within the next year? I would have said, you are crazy. And now I've been asked to join podcasts. So thank you for that. I've been in YouTube lives. I've been in expert discussions. I've held a workshop at my university, and all through opportunities that presented themselves through LinkedIn. And obviously, LinkedIn started out as a job platform. And there's a lot of job opportunities out there, especially now. Companies are slowly getting back on track after the pandemic. And there's so many jobs out there, and I've had amazing opportunities. Haven't taken any because I'm really happy right now. But yeah, and like I already said, you can position yourself as the person or like the go-to person on a certain topic, and you reach people that you wouldn't otherwise. So basically, I just want to give an example. Basically, everything is possible. I met one marketer who is working for a SAP consulting company, and he posted about, okay, I messed up. I told my boss I was going to get the CEO of SAP to come to our small event. Okay, people, let's make it happen. And then everybody came together, tagged that CEO, and now he's coming to that event. I just think that's amazing that stuff like that can happen through a platform like LinkedIn. And I'm actually starting to freelance next month, and I never thought I would start my own small business as a side hustle. And that came because people approached me through LinkedIn wanting me to help with their LinkedIn. So that basically happened through inbound leads for a business that I did not have at the time.
That's fantastic. And, congratulations on your side hustle, or as I like to call it, taking the leap of faith, because it kind of is, right? But like, you brought up so many great points. And I think the case in point is the discussion I'm having today with you, because your, what did you call them? The carousels, right? You posted these image carousels, but it was something about you and an introduction to yourself, and that basically grabbed my attention, which is the reason why I reached out to you.
Yeah, it's a really cool trend that was started by a person called Zoe. It started with a typo, which is super fun. She wrote, instead of carousel, she wrote carousel, and then she started this amazing trend where you'd create a carousel post just about you as a person with some fun facts. And it reached a lot of people, and one of those people was you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, that was a great case study too with SAP, and that probably wouldn't have been possible if you hadn't, put in so much time and effort on, working on your personal brand and engaging with people on LinkedIn, because that's how you got connected, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. All right, Lena, here it comes. Give us something actionable here. What can people in B2B organizations do today? And let's appreciate that this doesn't happen. A lot of this doesn't happen overnight, but what can they do today to develop their personal brand on LinkedIn? So for example, what should they include in their profile, and what should they write about? Off you go.
I was about to say, today is a really hard thing to say because this will take some time. But some things that you can actually do today is sit down, look at your profile, and really make sure to make the most of it and add every kind of information that you can, and really add your personality to it. It starts with, do you have a profile picture that represents your personality? Do you have a banner image that reflects who you are and what your mission is and what your brand should be about and how you can help others? Then do you have a 30-second cover story, which is a great way to stand out. Not many people actually use this feature. You can add it for mobile. Just film it in vertical format on your mobile, and that will really make you stand out. And it goes on with your headline. Don't just put you are a marketing manager at company X, but really put your mission in there, how you are helping the people that you serve, and make it a little bit unique. You can add a 10-second name pronunciation from your mobile. So you have 10 seconds to fill with whatever you want to say. For me, it's basically, I'm the one with the 3 L's, Lena Lata-Landgraf, and I love all things marketing and personal branding and LinkedIn, or something like that. And you can have fun with those 10 seconds and really make sure to add an about section where you can have different topics that you mention there, but don't make it just a written out CV. People can see where you work and what you work on the experience section, but more make it about what's your passion, what's your mission, what are you all about, and how you can help your potential customers, and how people can get in touch with you, or add some fun facts in there, and make people read till the end. And then something that is really underrated, I think, is the featured media section. You can basically feature any kind of image or video or post or website or article or whatever, and it will be really present on your profile. And that's basically what I look at first when I go to somebody's profile, and I can see what kind of content they produce there, if they featured the best kind of content that they have. And you could basically, the thing that makes you and your company tick, add that there, and it will make a difference. I mentioned personalized URL earlier. It's really easy. It takes literally 30 seconds to personalize your URL. Do that. The search engines and your profile visitors will thank you. And lastly, start building your network, not with only people that you know, but really use the search function. It's in the free version of LinkedIn. They have a great search function where you can search for people, search for posts, and start connecting with the right people. Start commenting on posts to get your name out there. And I think that's already a lot to manage in a day, and then take it from there.
Wow, that's a handful. I thought you said you couldn't do all this stuff in a day.
You would
But
have to
no,
take a whole day.
absolutely, absolutely. But again, to all the listeners out there, let's appreciate the fact that you cannot, build your personal brand overnight. But there are some things, and Lena's just talked about them, that you can do right now to pave the way, right, or start that journey, so-called, right? But Lena, there was something that you mentioned that I'd like to talk to you about a little bit, like your take on people that write about themselves in the about section in the third person. I don't know about you, but that drives me absolutely nuts.
I don't understand why people would do that. It just sounds like you hired somebody external to write your about section for you. It sets me off. So please don't do that. Please, you are yourself, and like make people, give people the feeling that you're actually talking to them when they come to your profile. That goes for your cover story and your about section. Really make it as if you were addressing them, and you were present in that moment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So on to the next question, which is like, LinkedIn has changed quite a bit. So what are some of those trends or major shifts that you've seen that you think could impact personal branding?
Last year, there were a lot of changes. They introduced so many things. But I feel like one of the really great changes is that LinkedIn is becoming a lot more creator focused. They implemented many different things that are supposed to help and encourage creators, and so that people start actually producing their own content. There's actually people working at LinkedIn, so-called creator managers, who are basically the contact person for people with a large following, of different creators on LinkedIn. I was actually approached by one of those creator managers recently, and now I have my own creator manager, which is amazing. So I can just give them feedback and ask them questions if I have a question about LinkedIn. So that's really great. There's going to be more and more of those, I think. Then they introduced creator mode. It's basically just a function or feature that you can turn on your profile. And it basically just changes the way that your profile is set up. I have creator mode turned on. You can add some hashtags that you talk about. It basically switches the position of different sections of your profile. It does make a whole lot of difference in my eyes, but it's just some small things that I prefer over the normal mode. And then also there's the Creator Accelerator program. They introduced newsletters for everybody. More and more people can do LinkedIn Lives. And now something that is brand new that is coming are audio events. So there's so many more features and formats that are going to come or are coming and came last year that are focusing on really this creator culture, which I really appreciate. Then I feel like LinkedIn is really making it more personal. One of those things is cover story. I think that makes your profile really more personal if you can actually like show a video of yourself and not just a static image, but actually something where you're moving. People can actually see you and get to know you. I think that conveys a very different message. And then I really also like the name pronunciation feature, especially from people that are not from Germany or not from the United States. It helps me to pronounce somebody's name if they have that feature activated, especially because I really like to send voice notes to my new connections. I always do that. And I like to make them personal and pronounce their name correctly. So I really like that. And I also feel like LinkedIn is a lot more inclusive. There's more captioned content. You can add your pronouns to your name from the edit profile section, and definitely there's a lot more content on like diversity and inclusion, and I really appreciate that because that's a topic really close to my heart. Those were three positive things. There's one thing that I already mentioned. I feel like more and more people are starting to spam and starting to post content just for the likes. So I really hope that that's going to change. But all in all, I think LinkedIn has an amazing community, unlike any other social media platform I have ever experienced. So I'm looking forward to what kind of changes they're going to come up with next.
Yeah, that's quite a comprehensive list. And just out of curiosity, the audio events, is that similar to like Clubhouse?
I think it's very similar. I've never attended one. They basically rolled it out just a couple of weeks ago. Okay. But I think it's quite similar that you have, I don't think many people can join the discussion, but you have like the different hosts. But don't nail me down on that. I don't have the feature yet. It's still in the testing phase.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, you're gonna have a field day with this next question, but what metrics, if any, should people be looking at when it comes to personal branding so that they can improve on what they're doing?
Yeah, so the most obvious answer here would be reactions, views, and comments. And while I do think that those are important to give you like a first impression or indication how your content is doing and what topics you should keep focusing on, I personally really would like to focus on metrics that are not really expressible in numbers on the post itself. It's more about like the feedback that I get from colleagues or from people on LinkedIn. It's the different opportunities that came for me. And I think a good indicator is also how many people are visiting your profile. I think that's really nice because then that gives you a good indication of how good is your how good are your comments or your profile picture and your headline, because that's the only thing that basically follows you around wherever you go on LinkedIn. And in general, I think something that is really great to look at is the kind of comments that are on your post, like the tone of voice of people. I am really glad that I have not had a lot of trolls or any negative comments, just really like constructive ones, and really positive ones, because I have a really engaged and nice community. That's a great indicator of how you're doing.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And I think I love how you brought that up about, like feedback that people give you and opportunities that came along. So rather than looking at solely the quantitative aspect of it, what you're trying to focus on too is the qualitative feedback, which is not always easy to measure, right?
Absolutely. That goes not only for personal branding, but basically any kind of business aspect out there.
Yeah, I mean that goes for podcasting as well. I mean, I was on a podcast a few months ago where the host asked me, "So what do I look at to measure the success of my podcast?" And I told him not the number of downloads, right? Because again, it's very similar to personal branding. Like those are like vanity metrics for me, right?
Absolutely. And if
Yeah.
you can reach somebody, and make an impact to just a few, I think that's much more valuable than having thousands of people
Oh
listen to your
yes.
podcast and forget everything that you said after
Yep.
listening.
That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Okay, you've given us a lot of great advice and tips and recommendations, but if you were to narrow it down to like two things, right? If somebody would approach you, as they probably do on LinkedIn, and to say, "Hey, Lena, I'm trying to like build my own personal brand, and I've been following you for a while, and I want to do the same." What is the one thing that you would say I should start doing, and one thing that I should stop doing?
I think one thing that you definitely should stop doing is being on the sidelines and worrying too much about what others will think if you start being active on social media. And one thing that you should start doing is definitely, like you already said, taking the leap, like I am doing with my business right now. Start creating and building your community and just see what happens. I can only recommend it, but really only do it if you feel comfortable with it. It's not for everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. Lena, thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing your expert tips and insights with the listeners. So please, very quickly, introduction to yourself and how people out there can get in touch with you. Hint, LinkedIn.
So I always introduce myself as the one with the three L's, Lena Lotte-Landgraf. I work for a company called Dassault Systèmes. They do 3D modeling and simulation. So basically everything that you see in the real world can be modeled and simulated in the virtual world. And that's super amazing topics that we work on. I work on digital marketing activities like SEA, SEO, and employee advocacy. And now I'm starting my own business, like I said, to help small companies shine on social media. One fun fact that many people don't know and only learn through my carousel is I'm actually half Finnish, half German. I did grow up in the United States. And another fun fact maybe is that I taught my dog 7 different Harry Potter spells. And the video of that went viral on TikTok and Instagram, although I had 0 followers on TikTok before. And definitely get in touch via LinkedIn. That's my main channel, and I will be on that channel always and every day.
Fantastic, fantastic. Wait, again, how many tricks did you teach your dog?
7.
Or 7? 7. Okay. I'm going to definitely look it up after this interview, but
Please do, and give me feedback on what other
sure.
spells I should teach her.
Okay. Okay. Will do. Will do. Lena, once again, thank you so much. Also vielen herzlichen Dank. Kiitos, I think is the Finnish word, right? So
Ole
thank you so
hyvä.
much for your time. It was a pleasure. And I'm glad we had this conversation. So please take care, stay safe, and talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye for now.